Hey y'all, welcome to What Could Possibly Go Wrong, the podcast where two neurodivergent friends speak about the crossroads of deep anxieties, imagination, and humor. I'm here with my friend Lyndzy. Lyndzy, make some noise for yourself.
Meow meow.
Okay, and maybe a quick introduction.
I am Lyndzy. I am a teacher. I'm a gamer. I like to do funny martial arts things that actually aren't real martial arts, or sometimes are real martial arts, depending upon the day. I enjoy trying out different languages. I like to delve into the macabre, the shiny, the sparkly, the glittery, and all of the doom. And I like to word vomit all over my friend Ari. Ari, your turn.
My name is Ariel. I'm a traveling medical worker, van lifer, and psychological enthusiast, and a true crime connoisseur. And that's not to convince anybody that I have any minutia of intelligence on anything, but more to say that 99% of what comes out of my mouth is to hear the sound of my own voice. All right, so let's settle into our armchairs of our unpracticed and tattered pieces of our psychological degrees and psychological problems, and let's examine what could possibly go wrong. Our topic today is an Ariel-centric topic. It is the ADHD portal. And Lyndzy, how do you feel about this topic today?
So when you said it and you described it to me briefly, I was like, oh, that's a big part of my everyday life is the ADHD portal. I'm excited to read about it and get some things together so I could speak about it as if I know what I'm speaking about during this podcast. However, I Googled it and there's nothing on the internet about it, which makes me even more intrigued because did the information about the ADHD portal fall into the ADHD portal? But I did come up with a couple of things. I brushed up on some books that I'd read in the past, like by Michio Kaku, as well as my own tattered psychology degree. And I prepared myself the best I could for this topic that you're going to tell me about today. So let's go.
Okay, awesome. So this kind of fell into my lap when I was, of course, just doom scrolling. And it comes from a YouTube channel called MyADHDBrain. And I'm going to say that this guy, like, he knows me. He really knows me, but we don't know each other. I don't want anyone to get confused. We don't know each other, but he knows me. So I'm going to go ahead and play this clip that I have, and I'm going to get you to react to it, okay?
Okay, I'm ready.
I put a waffle in the toaster, push the thing down. I go upstairs to go to the bathroom. I come back downstairs, nothing's in the toaster, and I cannot find the singular waffle.
That's awesome. This guy put a waffle in his toaster and walked away for a minute, and when he came back, it disappeared into thin air. Kind of like you with forks? Yeah, kind of. Probably just another ADHD portal incident. What? The ADHD portal. That's why you lose so many forks. I don't know what you're talking about. I lose forks all the time because I absent-mindedly put them down in places and then I forget where I put them down. Well, that's cute, but that's not what happens. When you set your forks down, the ADHD portal snatches them up and it teleports them to another ADHD person's house. That is the stupidest thing I've ever heard. What's so stupid about it? You know how sometimes you find a random object in the house that you've never seen before and you have no idea how it got there? Yeah. Exactly. That's the ADHD portal. You know how you said that guy's waffle randomly disappeared? There's no way. You sure about that? No. Are you messing with me? You had to have done this. How would I have done that? It's just the two of us here and I haven't moved from this spot in 45 minutes. What? Told ya.
Yeah. This is something that I deal with every day. I especially enjoyed the part where it ends up at another ADHD person's house because, like, frequently in my own home, I find things I have no idea where they came from. I assume it's the other people living here, but come to think of it, 9 times out of 10, I don't check, and maybe I should start doing. But waffles, Ari, why are we not sending each other waffles?
It's a damn tragedy. I don't know. Other than I haven't mastered the portal. And that's something I kind of want to talk about. Like, what if we could? How would we master the portal? So there is portal.
Sorry.
Right. So there is an actual psychological reason for this. With the it's a combination of object impermanence and like time slipping, and this comes from, you know, people with ADHD actually have anatomical differences in their cerebellum. And so their executive function has deficits because of this. And oftentimes the hyperactivity or like the impulse control that people see comes from, or at least in this article, the theory is that it comes from people wanting to do good, right? We all want to do good, but then we have to we realize we've fallen behind, or there's a time slipping effect that's happened, and then we hurry up to catch up, and that kind of leads to the impulsive behavior that we find in ADHD. But what if, right? So I'm going to add some really bad science here. We all know that when two objects touch, right, we have like a particle and energy kind of transference. So you rub your hands together, which is why I keep doing that.
Friction, yes.
And it gets warm from the entropy that's trading between your hands, right? Like that's an energy release. So what if we could actually do that? What if the hyperactivity of an ADHD person could actually transfer to an object? And that's what's happening.
See, it's interesting that you say that, because the research that I revisited for this podcast was by Michio Kaku in his book Parallel Worlds that I read a while ago. It discusses string theory. It's a good one. It's a good one. You can borrow from me. So string theory is the idea that all particles and things are made up of strings. And believe it or not, like life and existence is vibration. And basically the universe is this really nice kind of music. And the key that it's in is determined by the laws of the universe and its particles. So theoretically, if everything's vibrating, if everything's at a frequency, then that would totally explain the whole idea of an ADHD person would probably have a different frequency than a person who is neurotypical, and therefore interacting with the object, like you said, friction would be our particles interacting with the object's particles, possibly sending that object to someone else that's made of a very similar frequency or the same stuff. Because I mean, it's like magnetism in a way, almost the way that I imagine it happening. Am I a physicist? No, but my loose understanding of physics makes me think that that's a thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so absolutely, like frequency is actually how a particle moves, right? We can visualize this in the 3D by making graphs and showing that the frequency is actually how a particle moves. And the one thing that we can't do is we can't exactly accurately pinpoint it. So I'm going to put out two series of quantum physics out here that are completely irrelevant actually to reality, but they're a great thought experiment.
Well, that's all we have are thought experiments here. So I mean, yeah. Let's do it up.
So in 1927, this guy Heisenberg, right? Not of Breaking Bad, but of physics. he just kind of explains this uncertainty principle, that we can neither accurately locate an object or say its exact speed, which is kind of, it kind of is hard to wrap your brain around. But let's say you take a snapshot of me going 70 miles an hour. If I'm in the snapshot, you can say exactly where I am. But if I'm outside the snapshot, you can kind of make a guess of where I am. And you can also kind of guess how fast I was going, because obviously the shutter speed didn't line up with how fast I was going. And so we apply this to particles, that they could be somewhere in this general area, or they can be going so fast, right? We like to pretend that the speed of light is the speed limit of the universe. And so if you'll bear with me for a little bit more science, Bell's theory comes along in 1964 and says that actually the speed of light might not be the speed limit of the universe. And this was an experiment in which they threw particles of photons through polarized lenses. And these photons would go through lens A, and you would get 50% of the particles would go through there. And then, if you put lens B in front of it, you would get only 25%. But then when you put on lens C, you would go back up to 80% of the particles. And so obviously there's something that's not a constant variable here, like the speed of light. that there's something else going on that we haven't quite pinned down yet.
This whole explanation reminds me of the part of Event Horizon. What's the shortest distance between 2 points? You know, just sorry, it's just that's it. But it's what you're explaining. So sorry, that's where I go with it. So okay.
No, that is it. That's exactly it. What is the shortest point between 2 points, and can we manipulate it? Because obviously something is happening here. And so these uncertainties in quantum physics is really like what's driving my theory that that like people with ADHD could possibly, energize these things and have them appear in another ADHD person's realm, in their plane of existence, because they're already on that hyperactive plane of existence.
That's awesome.
So like if I'm going 70 miles an hour, I can easily pass somebody something that's also going 70 miles an hour. Much easier than I could pass somebody to somebody who's like at a stop, right?
That goes back to parallel worlds. He explains that our version of the universe is at a certain frequency on the radio, and that the other versions of the universe are all in the same place, but because it's on different frequencies, we don't experience that. However, if ADHD people emit their own frequency or their own more specific frequency within a frequency, then that could potentially open up the wormhole to waffles.
So I'm gonna just like put out the what possibly could go wrong for a second, right? So you have a high vibrational person, to use a little metaphysical terminology here.
Okay.
Who activates an oil pastel, right? Let's say oil pastels were created in 1925 to create, so they have the ability to exist, but like somebody with ADHD touches it and it falls into the hands of Hitler, who would have been like 30 or something at that time. And because of the difficulty of oil pastels, his whole art career fails, and we know where that goes.
The single object that angered the man that caused a mass genocide of horror and doom over an oil pastel that an ADHD person had an accident with. Excellent.
Yeah.
They, Pol Pot might have gotten the wrong history book, just dropped in his lap, and then that's a problem over there too. Oh no.
Yeah,
that could possibly go wrong. You could have somebody in the government with ADHD nuclear codes just going into the hands of the wrong Russian or North Korean citizen, and that would be a similar yet horrifying problem on that level, I believe.
Absolutely. Oh my God. And then like the magazine, the betting magazine from like Back to the Future, Bits magazine.
Yes.
Like, because if it's faster than the speed of light, then time really has no reference for it. So like it could go anywhere.
Absolutely. Oh my God, that's awesome. What could possibly go wrong was something else I was looking at from the same scientist in this subject. Because I didn't know what we meant by ADHD portal, and now I do. I was thinking about, what if there's something moving the objects? Like, you have these old folklore of like the Irish and stuff, the Fae moved it and blah, 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 because Fae are mischievous and not terrible, just mischievous. Michio Kaku was discussing how the government is currently working on cloaking devices. And I think that the only color left that they have before things can go totally invisible is blue. It's not a perfect science. He said, if you throw a blanket over it, the blanket's going to be there. However, you can't see it. So he was talking about how time travel, maybe the reason why we don't know about time travel is because the time travelers are cloaked and we can't see them. So my idea was, in the future, if I had the ability to time travel, I would totally go move stuff in people's houses, especially people that I thought would have a funny reaction, or maybe they just didn't need a pencil that day because they were going to write something absolutely terrible, and just take that pencil and hide it somewhere else.
Oh my gosh.
So they could be all around us moving our stuff right now.
Wow. And it's really interesting that you said that the color that they can't cloak is blue, because blue is the fastest moving wavelength. So that goes back to the ADHD, where blue is the hyperactive photon of the color spectrum.
Excellent.
Yeah.
I have to look that up. I'm pretty sure it was blue, though, he said. That's amazing.
That's really quite impressive. And it's also, yeah, it's the fastest moving one at the frequency. And it's the hyperactive one. I wonder though, like, if like if an activated like pencil, right? So the time traveler goes and grabs a pencil, like would it have to be like they would have to be at that higher frequency for them to even see it, right? It would have to like they would have to like all of a sudden appear in their realm, and they would have to be able to grab it at that frequency that they themselves are traveling at.
So it could be them that hands it to themselves.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because it would probably be easier
God.
to reach yourself than it would be to reach somebody else.
Absolutely. Like you know, like if you are the gravity of your own life, right?
Yeah.
Then you would be the only kind of anchor in time traveling. You would have to only be able to go as far as you go. So like you would have to be like you could like travel back using your own like knowledge of your mitochondrial DNA in your mom's ovary or something and travel back only along your timeline.
That would be kind of amazing.
I don't know if that made sense.
No, that made perfect sense to me. I mean, like, as long as you exist, you can go back. It's kind of like the time travel idea that like nobody can time travel past when there was a time machine invented, because they have to use the time machine to facilitate that. So no, that's a really cool idea. I like that. So what could possibly go right aside from wormhole waffles with the ADHD portal?
You know, like I really enjoy the wormhole waffles. I think that's a great one. But if you are an ADHD person, that has the spoons in the morning to share waffles with other ADHD people, that's really giving back to the future there.
Wormhole waffles. TM.
Wormhole waffles, TM. I think that's good. You know, that is the best thing that could go right.
Agreed. Carbs and magic. Carbs and magic.
All right. Well, you know, and I think we've touched on some subjects that we could probably fall down a rabbit hole later about, you know.
Agreed. New ideas.
Mitochondrial DNA, time traveling paradoxes, etc.
I like that.
Thanks for joining us for this episode of What Could Possibly Go Wrong. I hope you enjoyed the rabbit trails and hopeful hilarity of when intrusive thoughts meet reality. Stay safe and remember to ask for help if you need it. And we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.